Hi, and thank you for inviting us to be part of this workshop. My name is Brook Lillehaugen. I'm a linguist from Haverford College.
Hi, my name is Felipe Lopez, and I'm from the pueblo of San Lucas, Quiaviní in Mexico, and also I'm a postdoctoral at Haverford College.
And we're going to be talking about the Teacha project and how it and digital humanities could relate to infrastructural interventions. Just to be clear, while there's just two of us here today, the Teacha project is comprised of a lot of people, including those shown here, so we're just a small part of the team. And we'll be talking about the Teacha project as a system of systems or as an infrastructure that connects a corpus of endangered language, Zapotec text from the Mexican colonial period with digital humanities and disciplinary analysis to communities, including Zapotec folks and academics and students that you saw in the previous slides. To get us started, we need a little background on Zapotec and Teacha, so I'm going to pass it off first to Felipe.
So Zapotec is a family of indigenous language spoken in Mexico, in the state of Oaxaca. Next, please. Nowadays, there are about 400 to 450 speakers of all Zapotec languages, and communities nowadays are shifting to Spanish in more and more contexts. As a result, all Zapotec varieties are endangered, and some of these varieties are more critically endangered. Most speakers of Zapotec do not write their language, and discrimination against speakers of Zapotec and other indigenous languages has a long history and continues today. However, Zapotec, it has a long history of being written over 2,000 years. And now Brook will talk about the Zapotec alphabetic writing.
Yeah, so Zapotec has one of the longest histories of alphabetic writing in the Americas. And some of the earliest books printed in the Americas include books printed in Zapotec. We have a large corpus of alphabetic texts that comprise a variety of genres, including metalinguistic texts like dictionaries and grammars, religious texts written under the auspices of the Catholic Church, like doctrines and confessionals, as well as local administrative and legal texts like wills and testaments or bills of sale. These are stored in archives across Oaxaca, across Mexico, and in fact, globally, sometimes not under the best conditions and often not accessible to Zapotec people for a variety of reasons. And so we see Teacha as an intervention in this, and I'll speak briefly about Teacha, then we'll turn to the questions that were sent to us as part of this workshop. So there is a website, Teacha, that you can see here, along with its associated Twitter page. And Teacha is a digital text explorer for colonial Zapotec. And so it makes high resolution images of these manuscripts available in a variety of ways that we'll talk about. You can browse the corpus, as you see here, by archive, by year, by language that the document is written in. You can navigate the corpus in a variety of other ways. Because of the way we workshop with Zapotec community members frequently, and we always learn that folks want to know, is there a document from their town or close to their town? And so we created this map of manuscripts that was actually created by Jamie Metzger, one of the student research assistants on the projects. The way we work, we view as important as the product, if there is even a product, and we can talk about that later. So one thing that we value is we make the text publicly available on Teacha as soon as possible at any stage of analysis. So that means if all we have is permission to publish high resolution images and we don't have a transcription yet, we put the high resolution images up. And this is partly because the acknowledgement of the existence of these texts is important to the community, and it makes visible a written history that is often denied. And as I mentioned, priority of Zapotec language activists like Felipe Lopez here and others who are part of the Zapotec Advisory Board help determine design decisions and priorities. So here you can see some of the ways that you can navigate an image. So here we have a text. So on the left, we have high resolution images. On the right, we have metadata, and you can see with the other tabs, you can access a transcription of the text. And when possible in analysis or in translation, you can download the whole resource as a PDF on the right. And this was in response to the fact that many Zapotec community members in Oaxaca have access to internet on occasion, but might not have regular access to internet. So they might be able to go and access documents they want, download them on their computer to review later. We also have pop-up linguistic analysis available. So this is a meta-linguistic text from the viewpoint of Latin grammar. And so that serves some purposes, but not others. If you click on the Zapotec words, then you can access a Linguist Today interpretation of what the Zapotec means. We use TEI behind the scenes. So here you can see an example of that. And I think with that, we can turn to the questions that you posed to us. So one of the questions was, how does Teacha address the issue of critical infrastructure? So first of all, I want to say that neither myself nor Felipe has studied in critical infrastructure. I'm a linguist and Felipe has his doctorate in urban planning. So we valued the fact that y'all put up all those readings on the website, and we did our best to learn about it. And so we're going to do our best to connect it to critical infrastructure. So we hope that this is part of a conversation. So one thing we see is that Teacha functions as a type of knowledge infrastructure. So we saw Edwards talking about knowledge infrastructures being robust networks of people, artifacts, and institutions that generate, share, and maintain specific knowledge about human and natural worlds. So in that way, we see our work as consisting as a type of knowledge infrastructure. We also value public and stakeholding community access to and participation with cultural heritage. So for example, we have crowdsourcing transcriptions as part of our work, and Felipe will talk about another way that community, particularly stakeholding community access to the materials, is valued in our project.
Yes, one of the ways in which members of the community, such as myself, have used Teacha is by recovering the words, as I mentioned earlier, that as more and more people use Spanish, Zapotec is being lost. So we use this platform to recover our language. As you can see here, two of the words that I've been able to recover and pass on to my community is 60, which is Gayon, and Ta, which is next, that has been lost in my community. So next, please. So once I recovered these words, and then I shared information with other Zapotec activists in the community. So by doing so, I create a pan-Zapotec activism network through the experience. And then so we come like a snowball that if I'm able to access this platform and then pass it on, and then through Twitter, through Facebook, I'm able to invite more people to visit so they might be able to do such recovering words as I did. So that's the way, one of the ways that that community members might use that, and also using, as I said, Twitter. As you can see here, I tweet and then other people retweet it, creating a snowball, getting to a wider audience. Okay.
So we also noticed that in critical infrastructure studies, questions of open data and open source are very interesting. So we thought we'd mention a little bit about what that means in our context. So we publish and work everything in open data and open source, but also in a Zapotec context. So I want to say a little bit about what that means here. So for open source publishing, we've added what we call a Guelaguetza clause, and I'll just read here. So reciprocity is a defining Zapotec cultural value and practice. Zapotec speakers have shared their knowledge and language in the creation of these resources. Others are allowed to use the tools, and in doing so, enter into a reciprocal commitment with the Zapotec community that we define in what we call the Guelaguetza clause. And here's our addition to various open source licenses that we publish under. While licensed under a free open source license that permits commercial uses, it is expected that anything created using this resource will be made available to the community of San Lucas Quiaviní free of charge. And in fact, depending on the place this is published, the broader Zapotec community. This is consistent with the community's practice of Guelaguetza, a complex system of reciprocity and exchange of goods and labor. And finally, we'll mention here this idea of infrastructuring that we saw brought up in Studal, where our working process as being iterative and cyclical, where we work with Zapotec Advisory Board to think about priorities and thresholds in making resources public. It seemed to resonate with us, this idea of infrastructuring, including awareness about long-term open-ended processes of continuous co-creation. In particular, the idea that new forms are going to emerge through juxtapositions and connections with existing forms. So here in the broader Teacha project, we're working with a variety of communities that participate in the work and that bring their own ways of working, their own standards, and their own ways of knowing to the conversation. So for example, we encode in TEI, as you saw. Linguists also work in something called Fieldworks Language Explorer. There's archival organizational principles. There's web development tools, Zapotec knowledge and priorities, academic calendars, academic funding cycles. So the juxtaposition of all of these is part of what creates the new infrastructure and the continuous co-creation of that. So for example, our work is embedded in the Haverford College Library and co-curricular learning that happens there. So for example, there's internships and assistance, there's web development and the working process of the library, and also resistance and activism. So here you heard Felipe speak a little bit about the resistance work that he does. And we also view the Teacha project as part of activism work that is happening. So all of these are juxtaposed in the creation of the Teacha project as a community and an infrastructure. The final question that you left us with was, what is Teacha's main contribution to critical infrastructure studies? We're gonna bring some ideas, but in the end, we're gonna toss it back to you. So here's what we're thinking based on our reading and understanding. So I think we can view Teacha as a system of systems that is concerned primarily with open cultural heritage data and participatory digital public infrastructures. We're interested in sustainable and effective ecosystems and the practice and needs of a diverse community. And we saw that echoed in the literature in a variety of places. So I think what we're bringing perhaps is a very particular kind of community, diverse community. So it's a Zapotec-centered community, but includes a diverse team. So there's Zapotec and non-native members of the team, academics and non-academics, students, academics in a variety of disciplines, and everyone bringing their ways of knowing, their prior knowledge, their needs. And all of this founded in multiple levels of pedagogy, so both in institutional and non-institutional contexts. But really we'd love to hear what you think. So as scholars in this discipline, please get in touch with us. Let us know. We would really like to understand more how Teacha could fit into critical infrastructure studies. And I want to leave you with some contact information. So you could reach Felipe or I, and we can pass it on to the larger team. You can visit the Teacha webpage or find us on Twitter. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again for letting us be part of this workshop. Thank you.